he beats essentially Darkseid because and Darkseid underestimates him, and everyone underestimates him because he's just a human, you know.
Yeah,
But
correct.
he puts Darkseid in a scenario where he has to choose. I forget what the scenario is, but like one thing over another. He's gonna like blow up Apocalypse or whatever the planet is, and he's like, "But your friends are here. You'd risk your friends and everything." And he's like, "Yeah." you know, and Darkseid is like, "Well played, human," and then he like lets him go or something like that, right? But he always like creates that scenario where he's willing to,
Absolutely.
go all out. He's willing to do what needs to be done, I guess, to save humanity in those circumstances.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he's just one of the quotes that I actually committed myself to remembering that was in a Batman I think it was in a cartoon, and it's something he said in the comics, but he says something in the nature of expect the unexpected,
Hmm.
expect the unexpected, and it's a very simple quote, but it almost kind of like when you look at it from his angle, it's like, yes, yes, expect wild things to happen, and so it's almost like I don't know, he almost sets this standard where he's not surprised when something happens. He's not surprised,
Yeah.
And,
He
yeah, yeah,
feels like a big pessimist, and so like you said, you're just always expecting the worst, so you're never surprised when the worst happens,
yeah, something like that, something
right?
like that. In
But
a
he
way,
doesn't let
it's really,
himself love. He doesn't let himself do any like yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And that's
yes, it's,
you know
mm,
um, as far as like captain, he's like kind of the antithesis of that, where he's the leader. He has all the like he's like morally right like almost all the time, and he's
and inspiration.
yeah he's like and but Batman is thrown to a leadership role in the Justice League, but it's like
Oh yeah, in many ways, even his own private team with the Robins and the
well,
Nightwings
he's
and the
just making up
Batwoman.
for the family he never had. That's like he's just adopting kids and you know um but like, yeah, it's always like Superman and Batman in that like dichotomy. Superman's like really, he's
Yeah,
got all the power and he has all these, righteous virtues, and Batman's more like down to earth, broody, and I
yeah,
guess realistic in some senses, right? So they do balance each other well.
they
Um,
do, do, they do.
and then same thing kind of with Cap and Iron Man, where it's like they're both none of them, they're neither of them are Superman, but one is super idealistic, and the other one is more just has different views on things, right?
Yeah, yeah, which I think really helps. A lot of the films that they were in, it really helped a lot, especially with Civil War. Like I really enjoyed their back and forth. I really enjoyed that a lot because I feel like in the Avenger films you've seen it, but in Civil War you've seen it a lot. You've
Yeah,
seen Tony emotional about a lot of what has happened and the sacrifices, and and Captain America seemed like a different angle at it. I just really appreciated that. You know. It's the same thing with Batman and Superman a little bit. There are times when they disagree, and you see that exchange, and it's like, wow, that's real interesting to see, where they're coming from, their perspectives and their arguments.
yeah. Well, what's weird is that like Captain America is pretty clear with his morals. He's like, we don't trade lives. No, one life is not equal for 1,000, whatever, unless I'm doing it to go into some ice. And he's like,
Sac- Get sacrificed, but yeah,
yeah, yeah.
no one, he's not
And
having it.
team
Not,
leader, and when the whole world tells you to move, it's your job to plant yourself by the river of truth, and to say no, you move, right?
America.
Yeah, so he's kind of known of where he stands on morals and ethics and everything, and how he inspires others, and that's kind of his role. But with Batman, it's so different. Like I can't tell you what Batman's trying to save, what's his like morality, and where his lines are, because that's his whole thing. Is like, and Joker plays in it all the time. Well, you have to break your one rule, right?
Yeah,
You're an
yeah.
animal just like me, and everything. You're one bad day away.
Hmm.
Um, and Batman has all that dark past and his pain, and it's about how he, I guess, uses it. Um, and I don't think anyone would argue that he's a healthy human being, but he's not the hero we need, but he's the one we deserve. But
That
yeah,
that that's why I say that because I always thought about that. And the first time I thought about it, it was in Batman Begins. I think at the end, Batman was talking to Commissioner Gordon, and he was about to jump off the roof, and Commissioner Gordon said, "Well, hey, what about this fellow?" And Batman's looking and he says, "Well, hey, he left a calling card and and it was like the sign of the Joker, so they're making preparations for the Joker film, and it was so interesting because I think Gordon brought up a point like, well, what happens when we start wearing Kevlar and the criminals start having like armor piercing rounds and things like that, like escalation, like it just keeps and I always thought to myself like, is Batman making things worse in Gotham? That he's there? Like, I imagine like your typical street punk, like they're like, man, I'm gonna do this and that, and they're like, oh man, this guy's like really brought the game. Like, okay, well, I'm gonna do the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it 10 times worse. I'm gonna do 10 times worse. I'm gonna get a suit too. I'm gonna train myself too before I start doing this. I'm gonna come up with a name. I'm gonna do make a reputation. So I always wonder like, is he helping or
Is he making it worse? Yeah, like he's literally beating up people and like getting people off the streets and then reducing the crime directly. But again, it's like he's seen as that force, and now that's going to have a response. And Age of Ultron, they talk about it a lot, or Vision does. He's always talking about how our very power breeds, invites, competition,
right?
invites
I remember he.
challenge.
Yeah, that was a good point. That was a very good point. Yeah, I agree because like with the Batman, you see even in the beginning, you see you know he's narrating and he's talking about that essence of like, okay, the fact that the criminals know he exists now they're afraid. They think he's everywhere. So I can understand that, but yeah, but what about the people that are not intimidated by that? They say, oh, I see that as a challenge. Oh, you're strong. Well, I'm going to get stronger. Oh, you can do this. Well, I'm going to do that too.
Yeah,
you know. So yeah, I've thought about that. Like, yeah, is Batman? I don't know, is he helping Gotham? Like, I mean, yeah, for the little guys, yeah, but like the Banes and stuff like that. Like, I remember Bane showed up because somebody hired him to hunt Batman, and he hunted him.
yeah.
It's like, so yeah, it's very interesting to
Well,
you
that's
know.
that's what's like. That's what I'm saying. I can define Captain America's morals. You talk about him. I know where he's going to stand on an issue. I don't know where Batman's going to stand on a lot of issues. I don't know what side he's going to be on. And I don't know if you. I mean, I haven't seen the Injustice movie they came out with, but I played the first game, and essentially, I don't know if you're familiar with that storyline, but essentially,
Yeah, I I actually avoided it for a while, but it came on my HBO Max, and I did sit through it. It was very difficult, but I did
is
watch
difficult because Soups is your favorite superhero, right? Yeah, so
it. Yeah,
seeing him be
yeah,
anything other than what he is a little hurtful.
yeah. It was a nice. I don't want to give it away, but it was a nice ending. It kind of cleaned it up a little bit.
That's good. But because when I'm making this argument, I'm saying like, will Batman be more authoritarian in the sense of like protecting people, like Iron Man would be sometimes? Or is Batman more for like freedom? And in that storyline, Superman, becomes authoritarian. He's kind of using his power to make a one world government and have a regime under him. And I think
Mhm.
Batman's the antithesis to that. But I'm not sure. I can't. I have to watch it or whatever. But I'm not sure. I forget why. I think just because it's wrong for there to be
Yeah,
someone in charge like that.
pretty much. You nailed it. You nailed it. And it's interesting because Batman is still himself, but he almost reminds me in the Injustice film, almost like a Captain America, but it's not like um, he inspired people, but in his way, it wasn't
Yeah,
like
he's
bright.
not uppity and all everything. Like, but he's a man of action. He isn't about showing either. Like he doesn't feel like he has to be performative and be at the front on camera leading the charge. But he just gets
Yeah.
things done, no
Oh,
question.
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
He
Yeah, it's
doesn't
something I
wait
really
around for permission. He doesn't like he sees a problem and he's like, okay, this needs to be solved. I'm gonna go do it.
deal with it. Let's deal with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that is
yeah.
interesting.
It
Or
is right.
Captain
It
might
is.
do a couple speeches, rally a couple people, more politician, you know, and Batman's just gonna do it.
See Captain America talking to politicians first before moving forward, and like he will talk to whoever it is he needs to talk to, run it past them, have the discussion, have the argument. Yeah, I could see that before going forward, and but I think that's one of the things we like about a lot of these heroes is that essence of, okay, I know what's right, so I'm gonna do what's right, even if you know the odds are against me, and I think that's something that we all really enjoy about these films, because
Wait,
I don't know, even when
you're
go
telling me
ahead.
that the heroes that we like to see on TV and on movies and everything, that they hold objective standards? That they don't have like a subjective worldview where everyone just lives their own truth and everyone decides right for wrong for themselves? They point out right and wrong? What? Who does that, James? That's crazy. We
It's
aspire to
it's
be like that? That's a hero in our world? What? Come on. Now you're talking. Now you're being.
it's so funny you say that because when I'm listening to all these villains, Joker and down the line with everyone, they all seem to have that subjective standpoint. It's like, well, to them, for them, they're the good guy. They're the one that's trying to make things come to order, but they're doing it in their way, in a way
Yeah.
where be more individual freedoms to do what we want to do, or this is how we deal with the problem by destroying the corrupt and for them, killing is not wrong because we're killing the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So but it's interesting you bring that up. I love I love that.
It's just.
Instead, you got to have it because if you don't, boop.
Say it again. You cut out a little bit.
Yeah. We have to have that objective standard because without that foundation, man, we're all it's the Wild West,
We're all
man.
susceptible, one bad day away, right, from doing something crazy.
Absolutely,
We have to call
absolutely.
out objective wrongs. It's okay to call out objective right and wrong. It's important. Um,
Absolutely.
but I just think that's funny the way society is now and how we're so subjective, and we always try to look at like, oh, well, what did they go through? What's their past and everything? Um,
Yeah,
when it's like,
yeah.
no, there's still right and wrong. It's okay to call that out. And then we see that in our heroes that we so love and so cherish, right?
Yeah. Actually, honestly, that's something that has always pushed me to really enjoy these stories. Is that and essentially that's what all these stories are telling. Is telling the same story, the same concept. It's somebody seeing that something needs to change, and they took the initiative.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, they are going against the odds, and they're still like winning. So it's actually nice to see that. And it's also interesting to see stories like I guess we would call them anti-heroes, sort of like the Punisher. It's very
Yeah.
interesting to see
Their own
too when
justice.
yeah they handle things a little bit differently. Wolverine, it's very interesting to see those guys too because they have a standard, but they handle it completely different.
Yeah.
Completely. Captain America, Superman, you keep coming at them, they'll knock you out, they'll lock you up, you go to jail, and you're good. The Punisher, Wolverine, I mean, you keep coming, and that's gonna be it. That's gonna be the last time you come after them.
That's the
Yeah,
difference,
you
Red. You put them down, they go to jail, and they end up back on the streets. I put them down, they stay down.
stay there. I gotta revisit Daredevil, man. I gotta revisit Daredevil for
Daredevil
sure.
season 2, if you're not familiar, him and Punisher have an amazing, one of the best scenes in television, where they're just going back and forth on a rooftop talking philosophy. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it really is, man. It really is. I love that argument, man. I love that discussion. Daredevil's like chained up right
Yeah.
there, and yeah, and I just love how the Punisher knew enough information to know Daredevil's not a bad guy. Like he knew that. He was aware of that, but yeah, that was his thing. Is like you're on the wrong side of this.
Yeah.
You had you're not handling this the way it needs to get handled. And I love how that. I love that. I love that. I
Yeah, no,
love it.
it really resonates with a lot of us because, and there's a lot of movies that we'll talk about, like a parent doing something unthinkable because their kid was, harmed or, worse, right? There's a lot of
Yeah,
themes that go into that are very human and relatable, and Punisher's kind of a symptom of that, I think.
yeah. That's
So
so
that's why we love
true.
his stories and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know when his show came out, I just felt like they did such a good job with really giving us um, not only what he was experiencing with losing his family, but even just his issues with war, like the impact it had on his
Yeah,
mind, and it really demonstrated that like he's not well. He's not well.
yeah.
He's just well, and he just turns into somebody else when it comes to combat, and they did a very good job with that. Very
Can
good
can we
job.
say the same about Batman? Is he just not well? Is he just a senile, young man, not even an old man, a senile young man that just, I would argue that Cap's pretty healthy. Yeah, he has a super soldier serum that we don't know the adverse effects of, and maybe something made in the 1940s will randomly have a bad effect like later on. Who knows, right? um, but as far yeah, from all that pain that he went through, yeah, he's kind of just. It's not a healthy outlet. It's being the city's vigilante. And that's the thing too. Like it talked about morality is like where his line is because he's fine doing things on his own, to get them done. But okay, I won't kill anybody. You know,
Yeah, yeah. Break your arm and maybe your jaw, but yeah, you
I'll
know
I'll leave you like paralyzed forever, but I won't kill you.
that always gets me is you see it in a comic book or you see it in like one of those movies and somebody's like Batman's holding their arm and they're like, well, you're not gonna see anything. And it's like tell me where he is, and it's like, well, no, I'm not gonna. And it's like, okay,
Yeah,
oh, ouch. And sometimes he's had the audacity to tell them specifically how long it's going to take for them to heal.
yeah.
I've seen him do it. It's like, okay, yeah,
Yeah, that moral code is something that's different. But I think like we talked about